In the cornfields of a small town in the Midwest, there's a creature named Sawtooth Jack. Every Halloween, it wakes up and tries to reach the local church. The locals know they must stop him to avoid a disaster, so they have a yearly tradition called the Run. All the town's teenage boys must chase and kill Sawtooth Jack before midnight. Afterward, everyone gets to eat the candy hidden in his body among the organs. The boy who kills Sawtooth Jack is seen as a hero and gets a house for his family, $25,000 a car, and permission to leave town, which is usually not allowed. They also believe it brings blessings to the harvest. Girls can't join the Run, and each family can only send one son. In 1962, a group of masked boys goes out to hunt the monster. One boy is standing alone on the road, feeling scared and unsure of what to do. Suddenly, Sawtooth Jack appears behind him, and the boy screams as he gets killed. A bit later, the boys find the burning body of their friend and see Sawtooth Jack in the middle of the cornfield. An angry Jim immediately starts chasing him, and when the monster is close to the church, Jim catches up and beats him to death. Then he takes some candy from Jack's body, and after the others do the same, they howl and celebrate Jim's victory. Later, the Harvesters Guild throws a Halloween party to mark another successful run, and Jim gets all his prizes. His younger brother Ritchie wants to join him, but Jim just gives him a hug and says "I love you" before leaving town in his new car. A year later, Sheriff Jerry shows up at the school 5 days before Halloween to remind the teens how important the Run is, showing pictures of the year they didn't kill Sawtooth Jack and the Black Duster destroyed their crops. Jim is often brought up as an example of a hero, which irritates Ritchie, who wants to join the Run and can't because of the rules. Riley makes fun of him for wanting to volunteer when the others actually have no choice in the matter. Some of the teens think that Sawtooth Jack isn't real and is just an adult in costume, but Bud swears he saw him outside his window when he was a kid. Riley makes fun of him too, and this triggers a fight, but the adults quickly break it up. After class is over, Riley tries to follow Ritchie down the street to finish the fight, so Ritchie hides inside a movie theater. There he meets Kelly, who is new in town. They chat a bit and hit it off, but when Ritchie asks her to the Halloween dance, she explains she isn't allowed to go because she's black. Ritchie promises that he'll change that rule when he wins this year's Run. Then he meets with his best friends Bud and Mitch, who heard some nasty rumors about Kelly, but Ritchie doesn't believe them. His friends also convince him that he's faster than his brother, so he should break the rules and join the Run anyway. In the evening, Ritchie goes home and his parents Dan and Donna hand him a postcard from Jim, who they haven't seen since he won the Run. Ritchie informs his parents that he'll join the Run regardless of the rules, and an argument ensues during which Dan slaps his own son. This only makes Ritchie angrier, and he tells his parents they can't stop him. He runs to his room and escapes through the window to meet with Jim's ex and spend the night smoking. Meanwhile, in the cornfields, the farmer approaches an empty scarecrow stand and proceeds to carve a pumpkin. Then he climbs the stand, which isn't empty anymore. Now Sawtooth Jack is there wearing the pumpkin as a head. The next day, Riley finds Ritchie and starts beating him up before stealing his belt. This a beloved memory of Jim because the brothers used to wear matching belts, so a furious Ritchie tries to defend himself with a knife. However, Riley just beats him up again and leaves. Ritchie decides to go home and finds a letter from his brother in the mail. Jim apologizes for not contacting the family sooner and asks Ritchie not to join the Run because their parents need him. Tired of being treated like a baby, Ritchie decides to steal a car and get out of town. However, as soon as he reaches the open road and crosses the bridge, Jerry blocks his way. Ritchie tries to run away, but he barely gets to leave the car when Jerry knocks him out. That night, all the parents lock up their kids in their rooms so they can't run and hide to avoid joining the Run. The boys hit the doors and the walls in desperation and ask for food or a bathroom break, but their pleas are ignored. They must spend 3 days like that. It's a method to drive them crazy and make them hungry for the Run. When Halloween night finally arrives, the farmer fills up Sawtooth Jack with candy and cuts his rope so he's ready to go. In town, all the teenage boys are finally released so they can take the streets and start the Run. Ritchie wakes up in his bedroom and finds Dan telling him about a good job offer for his future, but Ritchie only wants the Run. Both Dan and Donna try to stop him from leaving, but their pleas fall on deaf ears and Ritchie leaves the house. Meanwhile, Bud, Charlie, and Mitch take a truck to do the Run with an advantage. Some boys accuse them of cheating, but Mitch quickly intimidates them until they go away. At that moment, Ritchie finally joins them, but before they can leave, the mean group comes back and starts damaging the truck. Once again, Mitch keeps them at bay and Ritchie distracts them with some food. Then the boys finally drive away. On their way out of town, they put on some masks and notice that the butcher is keeping hungry boys away by standing guard with a weapon in hand. Other boys also throw things at the truck for seeing it as cheating. When they reach the cornfields, most of the group is excited, but Bud is terrified because he still remembers the day he saw a Sawtooth Jack outside his window. Unlike his friends, he doesn't want to do this. Suddenly, the truck hits something on the road and Mitch has to stop it to avoid crashing. The truck won't start, so they get out and take a look only to find the road empty. Then they notice there's candy near the cornfield and rush to start eating it, thinking the truck had hit Sawtooth Jack and they've already killed him. However, a noise makes them turn and they discover Sawtooth Jack is actually waiting in the middle of the field. The boys run towards him, but just in a matter of seconds, the monster kills Charlie and Bud. When Mitch tries to look for the bodies, he gets killed as well. Afterward, Sawtooth Jack stares at Ritchie and roars at him, causing the boy to start running away. He doesn't stop until he finds the empty stand and is shocked to find Kelly there, who is breaking the rules just like him. To Ritchie's surprise, they also see Bud running by. It turns out he had only been pretending to be dead to get out of this, and he rushes back to town. However, when he tries to enter his own house, his parents don't let him in and tell him to be a man because they need the money. While considering what to do, Bud is suddenly approached by Sawtooth Jack, so he starts running until he finds a shelter where some boys are hiding. They want to charge him actual cash to let him in, but Bud doesn't have any on him right now. The teens start arguing over whether they should open or not, but when they suddenly hear lots of yelling, a boy ignores the protests and opens the door anyway, only to find Sawtooth Jack killing Bud. On a window nearby, a little child screams as he sees Sawtooth Jack enter the shelter and kill all the teens, causing a shower of blood to come out of the door. Back to Ritchie and Kelly, they agree to work together, but they'll need better weapons. They return to town and sneak into Jerry's house to steal a gun and some beer. While they're there, Ritchie is shocked to see his dad looking scared and knocking desperately at Jerry's door, but he leaves when nobody answers. While Dan looks for Jerry in a neighbor's house, Ritchie and Kelly steal the police car as well. By the time Jerry comes out to yell at Dan, the kids are driving off and he only gets to shoot a window. Ritchie and Kelly hear a report on the car's radio about the monster being seen downtown, so they head there. On the main street, chaos has taken over as the teens break into stores to steal all the food they can find. The butcher tries to defend his business and even kills a few boys, but they overpower him and beat him to death before stealing his meat as well. Ritchie and Kelly are horrified by what they see, but before they can leave, they're found by Riley, who makes fun of Kelly for being a girl in the run and uses a slur to refer to her skin. Riley's gang buddy grabs Kelly, but Ritchie finally is angry enough to stand up for himself and beats both dudes down before threatening them with the gun. Kelly takes the chance to hit them with her club too, and before they leave, Ritchie takes back his belt. Meanwhile, the rest of the boys are starting to really lose it and even kill each other. Soon Sawtooth Jack finds a trio wandering alone and attacks again. Not far from there, Ritchie tells Kelly of the bad rumors he's heard about her and that he doesn't believe them. But Kelly confirms he did burn down an old guy's barn because he was a racist prick. Ritchie shares that he misses his brother and they haven't heard from him except for the occasional postcard. And Kelly confesses her parents are dead. Their conversation is interrupted when they hear another report on the radio. Apparently Sawtooth Jack was seen on Oak Street. The duo leaves in that direction without knowing the report is fake and Jerry is setting up a trap. Once they reach Oak Street, they find a statue covered with blood before Sawtooth Jack appears in front of them. Ritchie rushes to confront the monster, but he freezes when he notices Jack is wearing. Kelly cuts in to hit the creature with her club, but Sawtooth Jack hits her back and disappears while Ritchie checks on her. At that moment, a neighbor comes out and makes them leave by threatening to shoot. The duo makes it back to the car and are found by Jerry, who points his gun at Ritchie through the window. He insults Kelly's parents and reveals he killed them when they tried to leave the town. Furious, Kelly starts hitting him and causes him to shoot his gun. The shot ends up grazing the side of her head. Ritchie immediately pushes Jerry away, and the duo leaves the car to escape. In the meantime, Sawtooth Jack goes to Jim's old house and sees all the messages on the wall from the 3 days Jim had been locked down in his room before the run. Screeching at the sight, the monster burns the whole building down. Not far from there, Dan meets with Jerry and tells him he can't do this. However, Jerry yells at him, explaining that the year they didn't do the ritual, he lost a beloved relative, so this town needs to be brave and do what it needs to be done. Dan cries but can't fight against a cop. Moments later, they arrive at Ritchie's home, where Donna is clearly spaced out because she took too much medicine. Ritchie starts asking questions about the previous winners, and they all have a similar future. They either went far away and haven't contacted their families, or they died in accidents. Getting suspicious, Ritchie guesses that Donna wrote the postcards and the letter, not Jim. He begs his mother for the truth, but Donna says this has to end and self-deletes instead. Her words confirm Richie's suspicions. The winners aren't living a great life somewhere fancy. They're sacrificed so that Sawtooth Jack can return in their bodies the following year. Kelly wants to leave town, but Ritchie refuses, saying he must put an end to this. Downtown, the locals panic over the huge fire at Jim's old house. Jerry is approached by Riley, who tells him he saw Sawtooth Jack nearby. So Jerry pulls him into the car and gives him his gun with the hope of making him this year's winner. Ritchie and Kelly go to the church to wait for Sawtooth Jack and are surprised to find Dan inside. An argument ensues as Ritchie calls his father a monster, but Dan swears no parent knows anything until their son wins. Then they're sworn to secrecy by the Jerry and Harvesters Guild, who would kill them if they tried to leave or told anyone. Dan wants Ritchie to leave and let him do the fighting, but he has a breakdown when he hears his wife is dead. At that moment, the church's bell starts ringing and Sawtooth Jack appears outside. Ritchie rushes to receive him and calls him Jim, showing he means no harm. Unfortunately, Riley arrives and shoots the monster, so Kelly runs to hit him while Ritchie cradles Jack in his arms. Jerry cuts in as well and makes Riley try again. But after a second shot, Ritchie keeps Riley at bay by threatening him with his own gun. To Ritchie's shock, Sawtooth Jack grabs his hand and turns it around as a plea to end. Wanting this to end too, Ritchie apologizes to his brother and pulls the trigger. The boys rush to grab the candy and Jerry congratulates him for his success, but Ritchie only feels numb. Later during the party, Ritchie continues to be in a bad mood and ignores all the glee around him. However, when he sees Kelly arrive, he dances with her and kisses her, not caring about all the bigots judging them for being an interracial couple. Kelly secretly gives him a gun and they agree to run away together later. After the party, Ritchie leaves in his brand new car and ignores Jim's ex when she asks him to take her with him. As Ritchie drives away, Dan tries to shoot Jerry for revenge, but Jerry knocks him down. Soon after, Ritchie picks up Kelly, and they leave town. Jerry appears in a police car, chasing them. Ritchie speeds up but almost crashes into another vehicle, forcing him to stop. Ritchie hides Kelly and gets out of the car. Jerry, at gunpoint, makes him walk into the cornfields. At the empty stand, Ritchie unexpectedly turns around and shoots Jerry twice, killing him. But the story doesn't end here. The farmer arrives, hitting Ritchie on the head, causing him to fall on the grave he's dug. Ritchie takes out his knife and pleads for mercy, but the farmer breaks his hand and proceeds to bury him alive. After finishing, the farmer leaves, revealing he was in the vehicle that blocked Ritchie's car. Kelly, feeling alone, comes out of hiding when Dan finds her. He advises her to seize the opportunity to leave town. Crying, Kelly escapes without further interruptions. A year later, the farmer digs out Ritchie's body and prepares the pumpkin, transforming it into the boy's new Sawtooth Jack head. On Halloween night, Dan arrives and frees the monster, still calling him Ritchie. When the farmer shows up, Dan kills him, instructing his monstrous son to burn the whole town down. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.